Yes. What's happening, everybody? It is Wednesday night. It is 10 o'clock Central Time. It's a little bit after that. And it is time for Ask Weezy, where I bring out my database of stats and you guys provide the entertainment by asking me questions that you need answered about any of the fighters, any of the fights that are taking place on the UFC 296 card, taking place on this Saturday. Supposed to be 14 fights. It is down to 13 now. My guy DFS by the numbers is in the chat letting us know that the Gary versus Vicente Luque fight is off. The UFC 296 pay-per-view takes a big hit. I wonder what fight replaces it. That would be interesting to see because we're going to have Edwards Covington, Pantoja Royval, Rachmanov Thompson, Ferguson Pimblett, and then maybe Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell gets on that main card, and then Bryce Mitchell can grab that Bible and scream freedom again. That would be pay-per-view worthy, I think. Yeah, I think that's probably the one that does replace it, but that's a shame. I was waiting to see Ian Gary kind of take that next step. Guy's phenomenally talented, but evidently he has pneumonia, so you're not going to get in the cage and fight Vicente Luque when you're sick with pneumonia. I could barely do Ask Weezy tonight with the cold and the headache that I got. So, it is what it is. This is a really great card, even without that fight. We still got 13 fights, and that's a lot of fights for one night. And there are a lot of really good ones on here. And if we go to the, even on the prelim card, you got Budai versus Gaziev is going to be a fun fight. Philly versus Almeida is going to be a fun fight. Ulanbekov versus Durden is going to be a fun fight. Menafield versus Jacoby is going to be a fun fight. Then we go to O'Neal, Lipsky, Garbrandt, Kelleher, Aldana versus Rosa, and then it's going to be Emmett Mitchell and then the other 4 fights on the main card. So, and we're starting off the night with Randy Rude Boy Brown going up against Muslim Salikov. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting card here, but I've got all my stats ready. Let me just share my screen with you guys here. And I've got the prize pick stuff up here. I've got the underdog stuff up here. I've got DraftKings up. I've got FanDuel up. I've got all the prop template here. I've got the advanced stats up. I mean, we're ready to go, you guys. Ask me some questions. Let's talk about UFC 295 here. We got Bob Spikerman's in the room saying, "You the man." I appreciate you, Bob. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Let me know if you got any questions for me about any of these fighters or fights. We've got Bob Spikerman saying, "No." Yeah, I know, man. Ian Gary, gone. It's too bad. Pneumonia is going to be not good for him, man. That is, I had pneumonia in high school. It sucked. It's not fun. And I might even have it now, man. I don't know, dude. Like, my lungs are not clearing up from this cold. It's been about 2 weeks now, and I've been sick every day of these last 2 weeks. So it's pissing me off. And I know it's going around, dude. Everybody's getting sick at this time of year, and it's frustrating. But hopefully that's the only fight that falls off. We got, to fuck for UFC 296, exactly. Ian Gary has pneumonia, allegedly. Yes, God, that really blows. JP Taylor saying, I can't remember the name, but he's in the mix now instead of backup to main event. Card shuffle possible. Oh, yeah, Balal Muhammad, right? Is Balal Muhammad the backup fighter for the main event? You could put Balal in there. Yeah, but Balal's already fought Luque. They already went 5 rounds about a year and a half ago. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. Luque, I don't know. Luque's had a ton of fights. He just recently beat Dos Anjos, so he's got a win check in his bank. He's probably all right financially that he doesn't have to take a last-second fight. Maybe the time off will do him some good. Maybe they'll rebook this for early next year. I think he should probably wait, right? This is the kind of thing when you have a good 6th fight backing up this pay-per-view card in Mitchell versus Emmett. These are pay-per-view worthy fighters. I think you just stick them in there, and then you find out what Gary's situation is and when you can rebook him and ask Luque, hey, you want to rebook? You want to fight Gary when he's ready to go, and they'll work it from there. So Yeah, man, that's a shame that he had to pull out, but everybody's getting sick right now. But yeah, I don't think, JP, that this is something that they're gonna have to reshuffle this card. This is already a great card, and it's not like you're losing the kind of fight that's gonna, cost you a bunch of pay-per-view numbers. I think that, this one will still, people are gonna be tuning in for that main and that co-main. And then you got Ferguson versus Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett's a big name. People love watching him. So yeah, I think the pay-per-view will be all right without this card, and they don't have to go like scrambling to find a replacement for Luque. We got Teron Brown in the room. What's up, Uncle? What's up, Teron? Let me know if you got any questions for this card. Thanks for tuning in, brother. We got Zen Monkey in the room. What is happening, dude? Always good to see you hanging out here with us. We got Teron saying Ian Carey is a little pussy. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a goddamn shame. But yeah, if he's sick, there's really not much you can do about it. It's a shame. They should move Tony Ferguson and Paddy to the prelims. Yeah, I hear you, dude. I hear you. But obviously, it's not the highest level fight, but it's a Paddy Pimblett fight, so they're gonna have it on a pay-per-view card. The guy, like it or not, Paddy Pimblett is a guy who puts asses in the seats. He's a fan favorite, and he's got a fan-friendly style as well. So he's gonna be on these main cards. They're trying to get him wins, and they're desperately trying, and it reeks of desperation, unfortunately. But the guy's been out for a while, so we haven't seen Paddy Pimblett since. Let's look here. The layoff, yeah, is almost a year at this point, and it was 11 months and 14 days when I created the spreadsheet. That was about almost 3 weeks ago. So yeah, it's over a year layoff now for Paddy Pimblett since his last fight. So yeah, we're gonna have to see. They're breaking him in slowly. They're giving him a washed up veteran in Ferguson that he can get an easy victory against, and so that they can continue to build his name. They want this guy to be winning fights, and they want him being in entertaining fights on the main card. And he's not gonna wear gold around his waist, but he's gonna be a fun fighter that people are gonna tune in to watch. And we got Antonio Esparza saying, "Oi, sorry I'm late, Unc. Hanging out, man. We're good. There's no time limit here. I was late. I was 15 minutes late. I had to get some dinner in me and just kind of lay down for a little bit. I'm not 100% right now, you guys, but I'm looking forward tomorrow to being able to really sleep in and enjoy a nice day off. And we've got a 2:00 show on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. Myself, DFS by the Numbers, Lou Betya, Monk Maddox, the old crew getting back together to give you the last props to consider and maybe bet of the year. So check that one out on the MMA Engine YouTube channel tomorrow, live, 2:00 Central Time. But yeah, you're not late, Antonio. It was actually me that was late. I think Tony Ferguson and Paddy might be fun. Yeah, it'll be a fun fight, dude. It's going to be a fun fight. It'll be Tony's always in fun fights. Tony always brings it, even though he doesn't have it anymore. He's going to go out there. He's going to swing. He's going to get in that pocket and trade with Paddy. And these guys are all action fighters. They're not going to hug each other around the cage. They're going to be out there trying to take each other's heads off, and they're going to give the fans a real good fight. So, it's pay-per-view is just as much about skill as it is about entertainment sometimes. And this one is the entertainment for that pay-per-view card. And I think it'll be really fun. We got Antonio asking, how would I fix the card now? What about Shavkat versus Balal? Wonderboy versus Luque 2. That's what's going around Twitter. Okay, so if I were Balal, there's no fucking way I would take a Shavkat Rakhmonov fight on 3 days' notice. Balal would have to be out of his mind. Now, Balal, might be the backup, but when you're the backup, like people are like, oh, but you're training, you're gonna, you're gonna have to make weight and all this shit. You got to make championship weight on top of that. He wouldn't just have to make 171. It would be 170 that he would have to make. So I don't, like I say, man, why should Balal Muhammad have to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov on 3 days' notice so that he can save this card, a card he wasn't made a part of, a card where he thought he was the one who should have gotten the title shot, and now he's going to play second fiddle and play the backup fighter for the UFC's new shiny toy in Shavkat Rakhmonov, man, if I were Balal Muhammad and they asked me to fight Shavkat on 3 days' notice, I wouldn't just say no. I'd be like, what do you fucking take me for? You think I'm fucking stupid? I'm going to be your company man while you've been passing me over for fucking title shots, taking Shavkat fights on 3 days' notice? No way, dude. I think that Balal would be crazy to take a fight against any of these guys, whether it's Luque, who he's already fought twice, whether it's Shavkat, whether it's Wonder Boy, who he's already fought. Yeah, like I say, guys, I don't think this card needs saving. I don't think it needs saving. So I hope that doesn't happen, because I'd like to see. I want to see Shavkat versus Wonder Boy. That's a good step up in competition for him to see Shavkat how he deals with an elite striker at distance striking range. Stephen Thompson is still an elite striker. He has problems with grapplers, so it's still a very winnable fight, obviously, for Shavkat, and the line reflects that. But I want to see that fight. So I want to see Balal get the fight that he deserves, which is a title eliminator or a title shot. And that's taking a Shavkat fight on 3 days' notice for Balal Muhammad. While it would be great for the fans, and I get that people would be like, fuck, I want to see that fight. I want to see Shavkat versus Balal. It's not fair to Balal Muhammad, so I don't want to really see that happen. I want to see Balal fight on a full camp and get what he deserves, you guys. He deserves at least a title eliminator shot or a title shot, I think, at this point. So give him that and let him do it on a full camp. Balal versus Shavkat, Thompson versus Luque. Yeah, Thompson versus Luque would be a great fight. I think that'd be a really fun fight, and I think Luque would wrestle the shit out of Thompson. And I think they've fought before. I think Luque lost to Shavkat, didn't he? Luque lost to Wonder Boy. Yeah, they fought in UFC 244, and Thompson 30-26 them on 2 cards, and then Saul D'Amato had a 10-8 as well, but he must have given 1 round to Luque. 138-77, he outstruck him. So we've already seen that fight, Let these guys, don't let Ian Gary's pneumonia fuck up everybody else's fight plans. Shavkat was supposed to fight Thompson, Let those guys fight each other. It's, I don't know. I hope they leave it alone. I get that MMA Twitter and the fans want a replacement fight, but to shake things up a little bit. But I don't think it's fair to the guys that would have to come in and take these fights and these new opponents on short notice. We got, what the hell? Sidrat Yul Montaha. Sidrat Yul Montaha says Covington will win. And I am picking Covington to win the fight by decision. I have a bet on Colby Covington to win half unit by decision at plus 250. He's the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week. Sidratula Muntaha. And we are looking for Colby to go out there and get the job done and use that wrestling base and that cardio and that pace and that pressure of his to really make it a nightmare fight for Leon Scott, take that belt back from him and bring it right back here to the United States where it belongs. The welterweight champion of the world, Donald Trump's favorite fighter, Colby Chaos by decision. We got Justin J in the room saying, "Oi, howdy, uncle," and greetings, chat. What's up, Justin? Good to see you hanging out here. We've got Tehran saying, Tony Ferguson is a funny dude. He said he's going to make Patty's face look like a ketchup sandwich. I guess he was meaning you will make him bleed. There used to be this thing, the faces of Tony Ferguson's opponents. Let's see if we can find that on Google. The faces of Tony Ferguson's opponents. Images. Yeah. So, like, you look at this. Ah, damn, it's showing. There it is. There it is. Like, these are the guys that fought Tony Ferguson, right? And you look at that one, and the eye is completely closed there, you know. And then Pettis there is a complete mess. I can't quite tell who that is there. That looks like a Bobby Green, actually. But this dude here is a complete mess and unrecognizable. That there is that Barbosa there? Jesus, my God. Uh, that I can't even tell who that is. I mean, you look at these faces, look at that, look at that, look at these guys. This is what Tony Ferguson did to dudes back in the day, you know? And yeah, look at that, dude. Jesus. I mean, it's just scary, dude. So I mean, like Tony Ferguson used to absolutely just put dudes through the ringer. Yeah, there's the before and after for Cerrone. Oh my God. Dude, that's what Tony Ferguson used to do to these dudes, man. I mean, he was the best. I really enjoyed watching Tony Ferguson fight, man. It was always fun, you know. And he would take one to give one. He would get in that pocket and give you a fan friendly war, and that's why he was such a fan favorite. Put together a phenomenal winning streak. Everybody wanted to see Ferguson versus Nurmagomedov. It was the fight that everybody wanted to see, but it was just cursed and was never going to happen. So yeah, you know, he might, you never know. He might give Patty a run for his money, you know, but I think he's done. I think he's washed. So we'll have to see. When did Patty last lose? He lost his last fight against Jared Gordon, but there were some judges who left the arena that day probably considerably richer than they walked in. You know, they probably got a nice little envelope, all three of them, to say that Paddy Pimblett won that fight. So Paddy lost to Jared Gordon, and he's definitely been submitted a couple of times. Back in his Cage Warriors days. So we go to UFC 296. And Paddy Pimblett's last loss before the Gordon fight was Storenbach by unanimous decision. This was a 5-round lightweight championship fight in Cage Warriors. And before that, he lost a unanimous decision to Nad Smiler Narimani in Cage Warriors. This was another 5-round fight, but this was a featherweight fight. So this was before Paddy had moved up to lightweight. So, and then before that, it was Cameron Else. He got caught in an anaconda choke way back in 2013. So 2013, 2017 against Nad Narimani, 2018 against Soren Bach. Then he puts together the win streak against Decky Dalton, David Martinez, Luigi Vendramini, Kazula Vargas, Jordan Levitt, and then he lost to Jared Gordon. So yeah, that was the last time that we saw him lose. And yeah, he probably gets another win here and gets back on the winning track here against Tony Ferguson. Unc, didn't you have COVID like a couple of months ago? You think you got it again? Yeah, I did. I had COVID earlier this year. My girlfriend goes and works all over the country, and she always brings me home whatever the newest sickness is every few months, whether it's COVID or whether it's RSV or I don't know. She's, you know, on the planes with these tuberculoids. They get her sick. She comes home, she gets me sick. So yeah, it's I don't know what it is. I didn't take any COVID tests this time. I don't care if it's COVID. My immune system has kicked the shit out of COVID like 4 times already. So I don't know what this is, but it's fucking persistent and it's pissing me off. Teron Brown saying, I get Tony is washed, but I think he can beat Paddy considering Paddy isn't really that good of a fighter. Paddy's really a step down compared to the guys Ferguson has lost to. Well, yeah, he's a definitely. I mean, there's no question about that. You look at these names, you know, I mean, Nate Diaz is washed, yeah, and Bobby Green is not washed. And then before that, you know, it's Dariush and Oliveira and Gaethje, and you know, he's losing, you know, to the best fighters in the division, and Paddy Pimblett is nowhere near that. Paddy Pimblett's a good submission grappler. He's got good power on the feet, and he's got good durability. But I mean, like his defense is so fucking laughably bad that it's really kind of hard to take him seriously as somebody that's ever going to be like top 20. I mean, like the guy is a punching bag and he's not a great wrestler either. So it's not like if he's just getting his face boxed off at range that he can just like get the fight to the ground immediately. Even in the UFC, he's only got 25% takedown accuracy. So, but Tehran, what you have to understand here is that he's the boy of the UFC. They just fixed a fight in broad daylight for this guy and pretended that he beat Jared Gordon when he was soundly beaten in all 3 rounds. If you go back and you watch the first round of that fight, there's nobody with, like with an IQ above room temperature who could have come to the conclusion that Paddy Pimblett won round 1. 2 judges scored Paddy Pimblett round 1. Ron McCarthy, John McCarthy's retarded son, he scored round 1 for Paddy Pimblett against Jared Gordon. I mean, like these guys flat out got paid. So they're not putting him in there with Tony Ferguson, Tehran, because they think that, Tony's a legend and he's going to give our guy Paddy a run for his money. They're like, no, this is our cash cow. We're going to get him wins no matter what. And we don't care what it takes. If it means that we got to dig up the rotting corpse of a formerly great fighter and put it on a pay-per-view fight and pretend like it's a real fight, that's what we're going to do. And that's what they're doing with Paddy. The UFC needs this guy to win fights, and they need the casual fan out there to think that he's good. And they're going to continue to find him rotting corpses. I'm hearing Matt Hughes is next. They're going to bring Matt Hughes out of retirement to fight Paddy, and they're going to try to promote that fight as like, hey, can he beat another legend? This guy Paddy's so good that he's just disposing of the legends of the sport one after the other, and then we can get him in there against Pat Miletich after that. There's going to be some, they're trying to get him wins and they're not just trying. They're going to get him guys that no matter what, those guys are not going to be able to finish Paddy. And then the judges are going to give him the decision. So, yeah, I mean, Ferguson is not winning this fight. But, I mean, if something did happen and he did, Tehran, I would be right there laughing my ass off, running around the room, just as a fan, enjoying Tony Ferguson getting a win. Believe me, I would be so happy if he won. I'm just not going to get my heart, like invested in this and think that he's coming back or he's, going to regain his own old form. They're putting Tony Ferguson in there for a reason, and it's to get Paddy Pimblett a win. Ian Gary's wife's boyfriend had just poisoned him. Is that true, EQ? Can we actually just make that real news right here on Ask Weezy? And does Ian Gary's wife have a boyfriend? Is that true? I mean, Ian's not enough for her? What? Do they have a polyamorous relationship? Is that what's going on here? I don't know, man. That's messed up. I hope that's not the case, EQ. You better not be dropping fake news on my show, brother. We got Donkey G in the room saying, what's up, Weezy? What do I think about Paddy's submission plus 275? I like it, dude. I like it. I think that even Paddy himself said that he wants to submit Tony so that he doesn't have to knock him out, so that he doesn't have to suffer any more brain damage, And I think he means that. I think he knows Tony's a legend. This guy Paddy's been fighting professionally since 2013. He knows full well that he's getting into the cage on Saturday with one of the legends of the sport. So I think he's gonna try to use that grappling, get to his back, choke him out with a rear naked choke, pat him on the head and say thanks for, giving me the chance to fight with a legend. So I like Paddy by submission at plus 275. I'm not betting the fight, Donkey G. I'm just kind of staying away from this one. I've still got post-traumatic bet disorder from having one unit on Jared Gordon to win by decision at plus 500. So instead of winning 5 units, I lost 1. That still hurts. And it's kind of got me with this Patty Pimblett fights aren't real, so I'm not going to bet on fights that aren't real. I'm not going to go to WrestleMania and be like, oh, I think, this guy over here with his iron claws got a much better chance to beat this guy over here who's a big cheater. And, it's a fake fight. So why bet on it? And that's why I'm staying away from this. But I think that's how Patty gets it done. And I think I've got Patty second round submission. That's my official prediction for this fight. So I think it's a good, I think plus 275 is a pretty juicy line for Patty submission. We got the Becca saying what happened. What happened is Ian Gary has pulled out the Becca of this fight against Vicente Luque due to having pneumonia. So that's what happened. Yes, did a fight fall out? And it did. Yes. Ian Gary is out. Ian Gary needs saving. Don't call on me, man. I'm just as sick as Ian is. And Becca is like, she's the last to know, but now she knows because she's here on Ask Weezy. We're dropping news here. Ian Gary out of UFC 296. So that's a shame. We got RC Misiak in the room saying, oi, nice to see you again. Good night was last night, UFC fight night, but Malarkey disappointed me big time. Mitchell and Casey should be locks this time. Bryce Mitchell, I'm picking Bryce Mitchell to win by decision. And Casey O'Neill, I am picking Ariane Lipsky to win by decision. I think she's the crisper striker, and I think she's got good takedown defense, and I think she'll be landing the bigger shots in that fight. However, O'Neill throws a ton of volume and brings a lot of pressure. So I'm interested to see how Lipsky deals with that pressure. I don't have any action on that fight yet, but I do think the line is wide. And I do think from the research that I've done that Lipsky's money line has a little more value than the minus 190 or so that we got for Casey O'Neill right now. We got Colostrum in the room saying Gary couldn't handle the heat from the internet. JDM versus Burns. Who would I pick? I would definitely pick Burns. I would definitely pick Burns, and I would probably bet Burns because I didn't like JDM being taken down over and over again by Balal Muhammad. And if Burns gets you down, he's got world-class Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So, and he's got good striking too. So what we know about Burns is that he's very, very dangerous everywhere the fight goes. With JDM, we know he's extremely dangerous at the distance striking range. But in reality, the BJJ game is still largely untested. And Basil Hafez kind of showed us a little bit of a chink in the armor there for JDM, is that you can take him down. You can hold him there. And guys like Basil Hafez is going to try to hold you there. While Gilbert Burns, once he gets you down, he's setting these little traps. He's 2-3 moves ahead of you. He lets you think you're going to get out this way. And then when you go to get out this way, he's setting up the next move. And then he's setting up the next move. And before you know it, the dude's on your back and he's got his forearm underneath your neck. So I would really expect in that fight Gilbert Burns to be minus 200, minus 250 against Jack Della Maddalena, because we know that Burns is way better than Jack on the ground, and I think that he could absolutely get it there. Antonio Esparza is saying, thoughts on Patty to win by double chance, KO sub at plus 100. I know the odds aren't great, but I like it. But I don't think Patty is a killer. Patty is a finisher, Antonio. Patty finishes fights, man. 10 wins by submission in his career, 6 wins by knockout. So that's 16 of 20 wins. He's got an 80% finish rate. Tony Ferguson has been knocked out in 3 fights ago, and he was subbed by Nate Diaz, and he was subbed by Bobby Green. He's been finishing his last 3 fights. So I do think the UFC would like to see Patty not only win, but win decisively and finish this guy. Get him on that mic, get that crowd going, and continue to pretend that this guy's an elite fighter. So I like I said, I'm not betting it. I'm not going to be the one losing money on Patty Pimblett. Again, I just lost money on him on the Gordon fight. So, I'm not going to do it again. I don't endorse it, but I get it. Sub prop at plus 275, the inside the distance prop at even money. I mean, I think they cash. I think those bets cash. I'm just not going to be there with you this week. JP Taylor saying, who are the judges for the main event? I think it's some of the usual suspects. I sense shenanigans possible if this goes the distance. Yeah, I do too, man. It's Lee, it's D'Amato, and it's Clearly. And Herb Dean is reffing. That's what I've somebody said that, I believe, in the chat last night on Just the Tip. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see who's doing the work there, but I think that's what I've heard so far. We'll see if that winds up being true. That's Kevin Lee, the guy you thought was Bobby Green. Oh, Kevin Lee. Okay, that was Kevin Lee. Got it. Yeah, all those dudes got messed up, man. We got Squad Shy 423 saying Dana White just posted on IG. Ian Gary is out because he got pneumonia. Damn it. We got Riding High saying, hey, Uncle, let's cash these flapjacks. Let's get it, man. Let's do it. We got Tehran saying Ferguson might make Patty's face look like that. He could, man. You never know, dude. You never know. Maybe he sneaks some rolls and nickels in each hand and land some big shots. But I think Patty's gonna probably take him down. And I don't know, man. I don't know how that fight's gonna play out. But I'm not gonna have any money on it, and I'm just gonna enjoy the shit out of it. We got my guy MMA Jesus 420 in the room. What's up, Dev? Saying let's go. What's up, dude? Good to see you hanging out in here. Let me know if you got any questions about this event. We got RC Misiak saying for a real big envelope for Patty's referee. Yes, sir. There'll be some envelopes passed around. There always are. You know, fact is, there's a lot of money in sports gambling, and a lot of people who are rich people, they don't like leaving their money to chance. They like knowing that they're going to get a sure thing. And, you know, when you're rich and powerful, sometimes you can find those sure things. And some people, they get the news before we do. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you already know, but Ian Gary's wife said he can't fight because he has a cold. Anyway, good to be here. Good to see you in here. Real Fight Picks, always hanging out with us. This fight won't go to decision. I think Ferguson is going to finish Patty first round knockout. Well, yeah, I think that the fight doesn't go to decision for this one is minus 165 right now. So that's not a bad deal, you know. Minus 165 is a bettable line there. So yeah, if you like that, man, get that bet. Anyone on Royval to beat Pantoja? I think there's a lot of people, Rebecca, that are on Royval to beat Pantoja. He's younger, he's taller, he's longer, and his output is absolutely crazy. And he does have some power on the feet for sure. I'm personally on Pantoja. I've got Pantoja as the ass shaving of the week this week. Royval is really, really good, but he's got no defense. He's got no defense at all. And a guy, when he's fighting somebody like Pantoja, who's never been finished, right? It's just a matter of time before that no defense, style of Royval puts him in a position where he leaves an opening for Pantoja, whether it's to land a big shot or whether it's just to duck under a big kick, get to the dude's back, and then he can get to the dude's back probably in 3 of these 5 rounds. But I think if he gets it to the first time he gets there, he probably finishes. So I'm on Pantoja to beat Royval. I got him winning by first round submission. But look, Royval's a stud, so I'm sure there's a lot of people on him. We got Tehran saying the UFC is such a dirty organization. I see why a lot of fighters are leaving for PFL. Yeah, man, big business is dirty. And the people who run big sporting organizations, they're dirty people a lot of the time. It is what it is. It's part of the game, I mean, there's a barrier to entry, a cost of doing business, so you don't get to make this kind of money without giving some of it to the people who made it possible, the people who kind of created the arena for you, so to speak, to do these things. And yeah, those people are powerful and they're dirty. BJ Penn after Tony for sure. Yeah, that would be a good one. Yes, Kai Eric said is perfect. We could get BJ Penn. What a legend. And then we could talk about this guy just beat Tony Ferguson and BJ Penn, former champions of the division, back to back. Patty Pimblett, one of the best mixed martial artists that ever walked the face of the earth. And then TJ says, Matthews, what the fuck, Unc? I'm literally laughing out loud laying in my bed. I'm sorry, man. It's I'm that's why I did that. I even tweeted that out when they made this fight announcement months ago. I said Matt Hughes wasn't available, and below it was the fight announcement for Patty Pimblett versus Tony Ferguson, because that's what I think of this fight. That's what I think of this. And and I just lost money on Gordon the fight before, when I had to learn that hard lesson that the UFC isn't going to let this guy lose. Even if it's a fair loss, they're going to say that he won, and they're going to expect the fans to believe it, whether they lie to him or not. So, yeah, man. Oh, wow. Holland asking the UFC to book the fight. Kevin Holland is always ready to go on short notice. The guy is a G. He'll show up anywhere, anytime to fight. Kevin Holland is that guy. He's the guy you call when you need a last-minute replacement. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him showing up to fight Luque. And he'd probably make weight too. But you know what? No, he probably wouldn't. It's already Wednesday. If it was 185, he'd probably make weight, but at 170, he probably won't. So it's called a thruple, Unc. What's that? What's a thruple? We got MMA Jesus. He's got Patty by KO. We got Patty sounds crazy. He won't KO Ferguson. Yeah, he does sound crazy. I love his voice, man, and I love his accent. We got Nigel Lee in the room saying, "Oi, I wasn't going to miss this last Uncle Weezy show for the last event of the year. Let's go, Nigel. Thanks for hanging out in here with us, brother. Let me know if you got any questions." We've got Tehran saying a few days ago, Patty said he was going to stand and bang with Tony. Yeah, he might. I don't know, dude. Like I said, I'm not betting that fight. I'm going to just enjoy it. Pimblett versus Ferguson is going to be a really fun fight to watch, but I'm not laying minus 315 on Patty Pimblett, and I'm not hoping for the best, putting plus 265 on the rotting corpse of Tony Ferguson. We got Dustin Lies in the room saying, if they do throw together Balal versus Shavkat and Wonderboy versus Luque, is Shavkat unplayable in DFS? No, Shavkat's never unplayable in DFS because the guy can find a moment in the fight anywhere the fight goes, whether it's in the clinch, whether it's on the mat, whether it's at distance striking range. His distance striking is precise and powerful. He's economical with his output. He finds those big shots. When you're in the clinch, if you get your head a little bit close to his armpit, he might just jump that guillotine on you and finish you there. If he gets on top of you, God forbid, his ground and pound is ridiculous. And he's got a good submission game from his back as well, but we just don't really get to see that because nobody's putting Shavkat on his back. So, no, I wouldn't say Balal. I wouldn't say Shavkat's unplayable at all. Especially with Balal on short notice. I mean, Shavkat could absolutely nuke him with one shot. So yeah, man, I do not think that Shavkat's ever unplayable in DFS. A guy with a 100% finish rate in 18 or in 17 pro wins is somebody that you can roster. And even at his price, that's the thing. I think that's what you're asking, Dustin, because Shavkat would be 9,700, I think. And even then, it's hard to get to anybody at 9,700. So I can see why you would leave him out of your lineup, especially against somebody like Balal, who could potentially take down Shavkat and, maybe see him, we'd find out how Shavkat could look from his back or what his get up game would look like. So I don't think I'd play him, but remember, if you're multi-entering, a guy like Shavkat can always find a finish wherever the fight goes. We got Real Fight Pick saying it's sad to hear Tony come up with different excuses. Last camp, I was eating deep fried Twinkies for pre-workout. Yeah, I know. It's like, that's why I don't listen to fighter interviews, because I don't give a shit about their excuses. I only look at what the most honest representation of a fighter is, what they've done in the cage. And a lot of guys will come out and they'll just say, oh, I was injured for that fight. And, and sometimes it's true. You know, sometimes they were injured. Sometimes they weren't 100%. Sometimes they were sick. Sometimes they had a really bad weight cut. But still, at the end of the day, you know, the excuses don't pay the bills, you know? So these guys, they'll say anything on media week to make you think that they've got a chance. And a lot of times, all they're doing is they're trying to make themselves believe that they can win this fight. That's what Tony's doing here. He's trying to make himself believe that he's got one more win in him. And he's like, yeah, this time I'm not eating the deep fried twink. No, you're going to get your ass kicked anyway, dude. You're washed. You're done. You're the last one to know. And that's painful. You know, when you saw BJ Penn string together 7 losses at the end of his career, that was one of the best fighters that ever stepped into the cage. But BJ was the last to fucking know. He didn't get the memo that this is a young man's sport and that there's a certain point where you start to go down, where your performance starts to dip, and you don't really feel it because it's gradual for you. But for the fans who only watch you fight twice a year, they can spot that shit. They can be like, look at him in this fight and look at him in this fight. You know, his body looks different. He looks slow. The output isn't there. The desire isn't there. You know, this is not a sport that you can just kind of like get out of bed and go and put out, you know, a legendary performance, you know? So, man, I mean, like Tony's trying to make himself believe that he can win this fight. And I think he'll probably convince himself. He's been convincing himself of lies for a while now. Oh boy, have him herpes, AIDS, STDs, hepatitis. The list goes on. Well, we'll find out. EQ. We got Giallo saying I would happily accept a switcheroo and make this bitch a title contender fight. Shavkat versus Balal. One day Wonder Boy versus Luco. You know, Giallo, I think that a lot of people would accept that switcheroo. Hell, I would even accept it, but I would still be like, you know, if I were Balal's manager, I'd be like, nah, man, we're waiting for the right fight. And Shavkat on 3 days' notice, that's not the right fight. You're not fucking weighing in on 2 days' notice and then fighting this dude. Let him get in line behind you, you know. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe the fans get that, and they'll be happy if they do. I don't believe Ian Gary is really sick. Just a few days ago, he was cool, but now all of a sudden he's sick. The dude is scared. That's just my opinion. You never know, man. You never know. Michael Panza's in the room saying, as much as Tony is not the same guy he used to be, I still don't think it would be smart for Patty to stand and bang with Tony. Yeah, I agree with you, Michael. I think that, you know, you always in this sport take the path of least resistance. You know, it's how you lengthen your career, and it's how you make more money. You make more money when you win, and when you win more, you get more money to fight, and you make more going forward. So you're always looking for the weak spot. You're always looking for easy money. And if you got a guy in Tony Ferguson who we've just seen get taken down and held down, you know, over and over again recently, and even when he was good, you could take this guy down and win months off him on the ground. So why not do that? Why not do that and take the easy money? But they're going to hand it to Patty anyway. So hate to say it, but I think Gary is karma after what he did to Neil Magny. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of people that like Ian Gary right now. And when he pulls out of a fight on fight week, there's going to be a lot of people, because they don't like him, who are going to say, oh, yeah, they're going to speculate, you know, and say that he's a coward or whatever. You know, I mean, like, these guys are professional mixed martial artists. They're certainly not cowards. They're not scared of people. You know, I mean, sure, they're scared of some people, but like, you know, these guys have got hearts as big as trucks. So I'm sure that the dude is sick. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was very sick. Hopperty Hop saying, "Oi, Weezy, thanks. Thoughts on Pantoja Royval under 2.5 at -140." So Royval fights finish under 2.5 rounds almost all the time. If we look at this on the 5-round prop template, the under 2.5 at -140, I've got it here at -150. Now, we don't really have any fights. Pantoja's only fight that was scheduled for 5 rounds went to decision. And it was against a guy that can't be finished in Brandon Moreno. But 3-round fights at the under 2.5, or even just like the fight doesn't go to decision, Royval's fights finish inside the distance 6 of 7 times. And for Pantoja, it's 6 of 12. So 12 of their 19 3-round fights finished inside the distance. And 11 of 19 finished under 2.5 rounds. It's about 57.89%. And at minus 140, you're paying about 58%. That would be, let's see, minus 140 is 58.33%. So it's a fairly priced line, I would say. The problem with that under is Pantoja's never been finished, and Royval's a very durable dude. So, but the only person to finish Royval that wasn't because of injury was Alexander Pantoja. So I think it's bettable at minus 140. I think the stylistic read is that this thing finishes, and it finishes under 12 and a half minutes. I'll be pretty pissed if I'm Luque had me to do all that training for nothing. That's part of the sport, man. You know, these guys, a lot of times their opponent falls out on fight week, and they're either paid. So, you know, it's part of the sport. It's bad. You know, it's just part of what these guys do. They're in the hurt business. It's a shit job. And sometimes your opponent doesn't show up, and then your boss comes to you and says, "Hey, I know it's not your fault, but you just trained for 6 weeks for nothing, and you're not going to get any money because you didn't fight." So, yeah, Luque right now is very pissed. Very pissed, I can assure you. Michael Panz is saying, I agree with you, Weezy. Tony versus Patty, huge stay away from me. Me too, Michael. And the great thing about staying away from it is it's going to be a fun fight to watch anyway. So you can just watch the fight and not have to worry about who wins. But if I had to bet the fight, Tony Patty, I think it goes under 2.5 rounds. I agree with you. I think that's probably the way I would play it too, but I'm not going to. People say Nate is washed, but he never showed it. Leon will never say Nate was washed. Yeah, I know, because he beat him, you know, but that fight was fucking trash. It was one of the worst fights. Dude, Leon Scott is so boring. He's very good at what he does. He's a great minute winner. He's a good boxer, and he's got good grappling. He's a well-rounded fighter who knows how to win minutes, but he just doesn't put on exciting fights. Yeah, and he almost got finished by Nate Diaz in the 5th round of that fight. So, yeah, man, it is what it is. Anthony W. is saying, Tony, the type of guy to go through Hell Week and come back looking good. Yeah, man, I know, dude. That's for sure. Hope you feel better, dog. Smoke something. Oh, I will. Trust me. I'll smoke something, my man. As soon as I'm done with the show, and that's a promise, Dev. You can count on your Uncle Weezy there. But yeah, this sucks, man. This cold sucks. Royval late sub BB. Yeah, that Royval's got a very, very, very aggressive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu attack. So yeah, he could sub Pantoja potentially, but Pantoja's elite on the ground. High level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Tehran saying Royval is only a year younger than Pantoja to my knowledge. Let's have a look. Brandon Royval is about 2 years and 4 months younger than Alexander Pantoja. Both of these guys on the wrong side of 30, but Pantoja is still 33 years old. Royval 31. So yes, sir. Raw dog all day. Yeah, he's a fun fighter to watch, and I get why people are on him, man. He just puts out a fucking pace. 18.07 distance strike attempts per minute. That's 7.26 more than the divisional average. He lands 6.26. That's 2.21 more than the divisional average. His fights are in control time positions all the time. 2.32 submission attempts per 15 minutes. 0.66 submission or reverses per 15 minutes. The guy's an output monster. He's just offense, 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 offense all the time. We got Panza says he leans Pantoja, but Royval is dangerous. Yes, he is. Royval is very dangerous. Who you got in the first 2 of the night? So I've got Randy Brown to win by decision. And I've got Martin Budai to win by 3rd round knockout. Shamil Ghaziev's conditioning is terrible, but he's extremely dangerous in the first round of the fight. So even though I think Budai wins, I think a round one bet for Shamil Gaziev is going to be worth a small little sprinkle, maybe a quarter unit to win like a little over 1 unit at plus 450, plus 500, plus 550, something like that. I think is definitely worth a play. But I like Budai to win. I love the fight doesn't go to decision for the Budai versus Gashiev fight, and I like Randy Brown to beat Muslim Salikov, but I'm not particularly confident in Brown, and I think that's a big price to lay. Michael Panza saying, I think as the week goes on, there'll be some late money coming in on Royval for sure. And Royval's a stud, man. We've got Money Bank Locks saying, my favorite uncle, me being from JM, I got to drop the Island Boys parlay. We got Edwards, Brown money line plus 130, 200. Meet me at the window, Bumbo Clot. Let's go, man. So you got Edward, you got Leon Scott, you got Randy Brown. They're both Island Boys. I think they're both Jamaica guys. I know that Randy Brown's a Jamaica guy, but Leon Edwards, is he a Spanish Town Jamaica guy as well over there from the UK? I don't know, but yeah, that main event is such a great fight, and I think that's going to be such a scrap, and I think it's going to be. I'm picking Covington. I'm betting Covington, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Leon Scott get the nod. He's well-rounded. He's got pretty good takedown defense, good conditioning. He's good everywhere. So, and we've got Real Fight Pick saying, I believe it is spelled Thruple. Thruple. Okay. Yeah, so that's what who was saying that earlier? Was it Justin or yeah, JP Taylor saying called a Thruple, a Thruple. Okay. Let's see. Where were we? Okay, yeah. And Michael Panz is saying, Holland kind of reminds me of Cowboy Cerrone. Those two dudes are savages. They would fight every week or two if they could. Yeah, because they get paid to show up, and they love to fight anyway. So yeah, I mean, like those guys were always down to take those short notice fights. I mean, Cerrone did it all the time, and Kevin Holland is really becoming that guy these days. We got. Don't worry about it, Tehran. You don't have to be sorry, man. Don't worry about it. You talk about Patty and Ferguson as much as you want. This is Ask Weezy. I'm here to answer your questions, brother. We got Roberto Madrigal Jr. saying JDM versus Vicente. Are they talking about that, Roberto? Because there's no way that's going to happen because JDM is in Australia. So, I mean, he couldn't even make it here by the time, by fight day. So, I mean, but that would be a fun fight for sure. JDM versus Vicente somewhere down the road. That would be a really fun fight. We got my guy Kiwi Brew in the room saying, sure, all got in late. So sorry if someone already asked. What do I think? Bryce Mitchell over 2.5, parlayed with plus 2.5 takedowns. I like that, Kiwi Brew. First of all, Josh Emmett has less than 50% takedown defense at the UFC level. Second of all, we can count on Bryce Mitchell to be the type of guy who, if he gets stuffed on a couple takedowns, it's not gonna discourage him. He's gonna keep going. He's gonna keep going for those takedowns. And if you get back up, he'll try to mat return you. So I already do think that the fight does go to decision. I've got that bet, as you know, on the over 2.5 rounds at minus 115. And I think that if it does go 12.5 minutes, there's a very high probability that Bryce Mitchell will have at least 3 takedowns. So I like that. That one gets the Uncle Weezy, bam, stamp of approval, my man. We got Snag Lord in the room saying Sean Brady probably still fresh. Give him a call for Vicente. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think that people are going to start really kind of trying to play matchmaker now, but I think what the reality is that this card does not need to be saved. There's already 14 fights. You can already put Bryce Mitchell versus Josh Emmett on that main card now. And unless there's somebody who just doesn't care whether they win or lose, taking a short notice fight against one of these studs, outside of that, I think that they should kind of play it close to the vest and not necessarily worry about getting Vicente Luque an opponent for this fight. But as a fan, I won't complain if they do. Antonio Esparza saying thoughts on Pantoja double chance, sub decision, -115. I don't think he knocks out Royval. Yeah, I don't mind that. The fight is -550 to finish inside the distance, though. So can you get look, I'm picking Pantoja to win by submission. And I also think he can win a ton of minutes in this fight because Royval has bad takedown defense and because Pantoja can win minutes on the ground by getting to his opponent's back. So uh, I don't hate it, Antonio. I'm going to be parlaying the Pantoja money line, but I don't hate that bet at all. Tehran is saying that Chuck Liddell went through the same thing Ferguson is going through as far as being washed and losing. Yeah, man. A lot of these guys did, Tehran. I mean, like a lot of these guys went out on a lot of L's because they were the last one to get it. That like, hey, this isn't for you anymore. This is a young man's sport. Once you're past it, you're permanently past it. You don't get it back. We got Scared Money saying he's calling Tony Ferguson now. You call him. You call him. It's fight week. I'm sure he'll take your call. But yeah, man. I hope look. I hope he wins. Scared Money. I really do. But I'm just not thinking that it's going to happen. If Tony wins, it's first round knockout or doctor stoppage for cuts. I don't think Tony Ferguson's ever knocked anybody out in the first round in the UFC. I don't think that's ever happened. I think it's all attritional knockouts. So, he's got several first round wins, but they came early against Gleison Tebow, first round sub, against Katsunori Kakuno, first round knockout, and then Mike Rio back in 2013. And I think he's had a couple fights prior to that. But then after that, you see the third round decision against Josh Thompson, second round against Barbosa, second round against Venata. He goes the full 5 with Dos Anjos, third round against Lee, second round against Pettis, second round against Cerrone, fifth round, and then these were all losses. Gaethje, Oliveira, Dariush, Chandler, Diaz, and then Green. So probably not the first round. I think it may be a first round submission if he catches him in a Darce choke. But I don't think he's knocking out anybody in the first round. But he could get the doctor stoppage from cuts because that's what he's known for. Snag Lord saying Vicente's out of 296. Balal should accept Shavkat and Wonderboy won't give up his opportunity for a title run. Yeah, that's for sure. JP saying, I could see Patty versus Ferguson going the distance because Patty gives him too much respect. But you're right, Unc. This is a stay away and a fake fight. Yeah, and that's the way I feel about it. Kind of feel like it's a fake fight, so I'm not going to get caught trying to analyze something that's really kind of like a work, and it's got like a predetermined script from the start. Michael Pence is saying it's still crazy to me that Nate almost KO'd the current welterweight champion. He landed a big shot there in the fifth and then really didn't follow up, which was kind of hilarious. That's Colby catches him lacking in the fifth with a finish. That would be wild, but I'll be pissed off if he finishes him in the fifth because I got him to win by decision. We got the Golden Octagon saying in the room saying, "Oi, last pay-per-view of the year, Weezy. Let's stack them. Let's get it, Golden Octagon. Thank you for hanging out with us." Tehran saying, I know people probably think Ferguson training with Goggins is stupid, but I think it's actually genius. I think Tony training with Goggins to get his confidence back. Yeah, maybe. I don't think it's going to help him, though, because conditioning was never really his problem. Goggins is known for giving people confidence and self-belief. Yeah, it could be, but like I said, that's a bad sign. This is Tony trying to convince himself that he can win this fight. Maybe he can. I don't know, dude. I don't see it happening. Tyron Woodley definitely went out on some L's. Maybe Ian Gary was out smoking those Camel non-filters with Keith Peterson. Yeah, man, I don't think so. Ian Gary seems like a clean living type, so I don't think he was doing that. But he caught that pneumonia, man, and he's got a little kid around him, and that's the problem, man. That's what happens when you have kids. They're like little petri dishes, dude. They get everybody sick. We got Nigel saying that Tehran Brown brother, that was the best example. Yeah, that's for sure. Woodley did go out on a lot of L's. Tony dropped Justin in the second, Chandler the first. Bobby almost got slept on the first. Bet it, my man. Bet it. I mean, that guy fucking Patty Pimblett's got an absolute iron chin on him. But if you think so, man, do it. Like I said, man, everybody's talking about this fight. I'm not going to get anywhere near it. Keith Peterson is definitely outside smoking cigs at the Apex fights between breaks when he's not reffing. There's no question about it. You know, when you're addicted to cigarettes, you know, it's what happens. It's a terrible, terrible addiction. And we got Cheeky Elbow saying, I wasn't sure until I saw his lizard all in. There you go. We got Antonio Esparza saying, thoughts on Shavkat Thompson over under 1.5 rounds, plus 130, over minus 166. I can see Thomas getting bulldozed in round 1. Yeah, I could too. I'm not playing totals on that because Shavkat's such a good moment winner that it could happen at any point, and he doesn't really need to rush it. So I could see it happening in the first, the second, the third. With Shavkat, it can happen at any time. He's that precise with his kicks, and he's that deadly with his submission attempts and ground and pound. We got, and ring a ding ding, you guys, the super sticker for my guy Nigel Lee, fellow Sigma Chi, $5. Help him keep the lights on here in his Uncle Weezy studio. Thank you so much for donating to the show, brother. I truly, truly appreciate it. And Anthony's saying, no way, I'd bet it, bro. There you go. And just enjoy the fight, right? Who's playing touch butt with a reptile? Who's doing that? I didn't see the lizard. Oh, is it Tony Ferguson's lizard? I mean, he sounds like the kind of guy who would have a lizard. And I know that Patty Pimblett calls people a lizard a lot, which I think is hilarious. To hear him say the word lizard is just a treat. But oh yeah, Tony and Dustin never did fight each other, and they never will because Dustin's still pretty good. We got Antonio, what's your thoughts on Freddie Mercury? Random question, but his song just came out at my house. Yeah, Freddie Mercury. I wasn't a huge Queen fan by any stretch of the imagination, but the dude was a phenomenally gifted singer. So yeah, I mean, and they had some iconic songs. But like I said, Queen wasn't something that I was a big fan of. But my opinion of Freddie Mercury as a singer is about as high as it can get because the guy's got serious pipes. He's just, you know, one of the best singers that ever do it. So, I mean, yeah, great singer. Tony versus Dustin in their primes would have been insane. And yeah, and that's the thing because Dustin was most of the time at 145. He didn't move up to 155 until later. So that's probably why the fight never happened because I could see them, you know, making that fight, you know, because they would have been such a great fight. It would have been a straight up banger for sure, man. Remdog in the room saying, oi, what's up, Weezy? Any value on Shavkat and Wonderboy going the distance? I have this gut feeling Wonderboy does his best to stay standing, probably drags it out. I mean, what are they giving you, dude? Honestly, dude, if I were to bet fight goes to decision for that, I would need close to plus 300. And I really honestly think that it's like minus 220 for fight doesn't go to decision. Where do they have it? On Bet Online. That's usually the best market. Yeah, no is minus 220 plus 180 for FICO. No, there's no meat on that bone, Remdog. I mean, and don't forget, Jeff Neal has phenomenal takedown defense. So Shavkat wasn't able to take down Jeff Neal. That's why it took him so long to find that submission. Because Jeff Neal is just as good of a striker. The problem is that Shavkat will be able to get Wonder Boy down if he commits to wrestling. So I don't think that fight's going to decision, my man. And if it did, I would need way better than plus 180 to bet it. Yeah, so I'm going to parlay the Pantoja money line with the fight doesn't go to decision for Martin Budai versus Shamil Gaziev. Let me see if that's available yet on Bet Rivers. No, they still only got have only got the money line, so it's not available yet. So I can't do it, but that's going to be a track bet for me. Dustin came to 155 back in 2015. Really? Wow. Okay. So Tony had plenty of time to, yeah. All right. It could have happened, I guess. Yeah. Thompson's by decision plus 900. Yeah. I think that's how he wins, because Shavkat's got a ridiculous chin on him and he's very durable. So I think if Thompson did win, it would be by decision. He's not submitting anybody, obviously. So yeah, man, that's probably the best way to go for Stephen Thompson. Wait, Colby Leon RD total RD round total is 4.5. Yeah, and the over is minus 210. How gross is that? Do you see the fight possibly going under at plus 160? Sure, it's possible. But here's what the prop template says, and it's pretty compelling. The under 4.5 rounds at plus 165, right? That's a 37% implied probability. 45% of 170-pound 5-round fights go under 4.5 rounds, 31 of 69. But Leon Edwards has had 6 fights scheduled for 5 rounds in the UFC, and so is Colby Covington. And only 2 of those 12 combined fights have finished under 4.5 rounds. And don't forget, one of them was an eye poke for Leon Edwards. So, these guys, they don't go under 4.5 rounds a lot at all. So I don't think there's any value in the under. It's a gross over. I agree with you, but I just cannot. I cannot go with that. Yeah. I mean, the line is just not good enough. I mean, you're not keeping your butt clenched for 15 minutes and then 2 minutes in between rounds to get plus 180. No thanks. Nigel Lee is off WMMA betting, but for the people, which one of the women's favorites going to let down the public? Because just like real life, these chicks are like taking our cash. Yeah, I mean, I think it might be O'Neal. I think it might be O'Neal, to be honest with you. I don't think that I don't think she can get Lipsky down. I think Lipsky's the better striker, but I also wouldn't lay minus 190 on this version of Irene Aldana either. So let's just say that they could both let you down, Nigel Lee, and that your Uncle Weezy won't be laying juice on Casey O'Neal or Irene Aldana this week. That's for sure. Cuban Assassin in the room saying, Weezy, I'm putting together a handsome refs calendar for 2024. I got Keith Peterson, Jacob Montalvo, and Kim Winslow. They're very handsome. Who else, dude? Yeah, Vyacheslav Kisiev's not handsome. Dude, how about Kevin McDonald with the mustache? Very handsome. So Kevin McDonald's a good ref, but he'll go with the handlebar mustache every once in a while, and he looks very handsome. So I think that would be there, but I think like you're selling that by putting Kim Winslow's cover. That's the cover shot. That's the money shot right there that sells the calendar. And then everything else inside, we'll have a little Montalvo in there. We get a little eye candy with the British ladies for Mark Goddard and then maybe a little Anders Olsen in there, But yeah, it's got to be Kim Winslow. That's your moneymaker there. Do I think he eventually moves up, Shavkat? I don't think so, man. I think he should stay at 170. If he's not killing himself to make weight, he's got to stay there. He's huge for the weight class, and that's a huge advantage. And yes, Freak in the room saying, oh, shit, Weezy, Scottsdale, Arizona is watching you. Let's go. Scottsdale, stand up, baby. Let's go. We got Nigel Lee saying at the Cuban Assassin, please don't forget Chris Tione. Yeah, man. He's a handsome guy, too. I wish they would have done Diego Lopez versus Josh Emmett. That would have been a better fight. Yeah, I mean, I think Josh is kind of on his way out now, and I think it would look a lot like Mitchell versus Emmett. MMA Jesus, I think there is great value. The under. Colby is going to finish. Lock of the card, plus 140. And new. I'm going with Colby too, but I got Colby by decision. But Colby finishing him would be quite. That would be the first time anybody finished Leon Edwards ever. So that would be very surprising because Colby's not really a finisher in his own right. But I'm betting Colby to win by decision. MMA Jesus at plus 250. I've already got a half unit on that, but maybe I'll join you on the money line too. JP Taylor saying blindly betting dogs in WMMA is the only system and it works, dude. I hear Ian Gary's wife's ex-husband is stepping in again for him. Well, let's hope, man. That would be a great fight. Real Fight Pick saying Shavkat is UFC's punishment for Wonderboy not fighting Michelle. Exactly right. So Shavkat better make weight. Otherwise, he's going to find a back door out of this one, too. What dogs can you see winning? I can see a lot of the favorites winning on Saturday. Yeah, I think a lot of the dogs are live, you guys. I think Colby Covington is live. I think Josh Emmett's live because it's short notice for Bryce Mitchell. I think Carol Hosa's live. I think potentially Kelleher's live. I think Lipsky is live. I think Durden could be live, but I do like Ilan Bekov there. Lucas Almeida always live to land a big shot, and Gaziev always live to land a big shot. He's very front loaded though, and Salikov is a very cheeky striker, and he could find a big body shot that could shut off Randy Brown. So yeah, I think there's a lot of live dogs here. We got Nigel Lee saying, Weezy also forgot the nugget I dropped months ago. Lipsky is working primarily with Amanda Nunes. They have a Penn State stud that is shored up her wrestling. Lipsky for the W. Yeah, because if she stops the takedowns, she's the better striker. Casey O'Neill can walk forward, throwing all the volume she wants. Ariane Lipsky has real power, and if she walks forward like a zombie, she's going to walk onto something and get dropped. Damn it, I was really looking forward to Ian Gary versus Luque. Kevin Holland offered to step in, and I never bet heavyweights fights, but am I crazy to like Budai? Minus 162 is value. I think Budai should be minus 250 because of his grappling upside. I don't think he should be minus 250, but I think Budai is a much better price than that, isn't he? Minus 135 on Bet Online. Get on that, man. But that's a line. Yeah, I think Budai minus 162 is about where it should be. I think Budai minus 135 on Bet Online. I think that's value. I think Budai inside the distance is the way that I might play this because Gaziev really only has about one round of cardio, and I think he's going to go out there to finish. And if he doesn't, I think he's going to gas out, and I think he's going to make it easier for Budai to finish him in the clinch or on the mat. Mitchell has shown a decent chin. Yes, he has. But Emma can crack. I don't like the short notice for Bryce either. Yeah, I mean, and he's got to wrestle too, Michael. So 15 minutes of wrestling, you got to have a full camp in order to be able to pull that off. And if he's unable to pull that off and he gets tired, it'll be that much easier for Emmett to find a late knockout. All right, you guys, I got Bob Spikerman saying, I have a rude question, man, but do you happen to have John Dodson's stats in your database? No, I don't, because Dodson hasn't fought since before I started doing this. So, yeah, so I do not have Dodson's stats, but that dude had a ton of knockdowns. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you could hit that thumbs up on your way out, leave me a comment, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and please consider joining the Patreon. It's the best way to support the stats that I give out here every week and support the YouTube content. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'm sick. I got to go. I got to get some rest here tonight. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of Ask Weezy. Check me out tomorrow on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, 2 o'clock Central Time, for props to consider and maybe bet with the entire MMA Engine crew. I'll be giving out a greasy leg 4-leg parlay on Friday and doing best bet on Friday on Brady's channel. So still a lot more content to go this week, but I got to get some rest and get the fuck off the air tonight. Good night, you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys tomorrow on the MMA Engine YouTube channel.